Today, guys, we learned to use our polyatomics when we're writing a formula. Those polyatomics are things I made you put on your index cards. You're going to have to memorize them, and you need to know their charges as well. So you're going to have to study, come up with some tricks. I did show them some tricks in class. If you want to come by, I'll show you a few little tricks. I don't have a lot of tricks for them, but I'm going to show you how you would use them. If you had the name aluminum sulfate, since it ends in ATE, it is not normal aluminum and sulfur from the periodic table. If it's normal sulfur, it would be sulfide, IDE. Since it's ATE, it's one of those ones you're supposed to memorize. The ones you're supposed to memorize, most of them were, all but one actually, they were negative, meaning they were an anion. So you're going to see those polys as the second part of a name. The only one that was positive was ammonium, and he was down at the bottom. He's the only one that's allowed actually to be in the front. So all the others are going to be down at the bottom. So we would do the same thing that we did before. Aluminum has a positive 3 charge, and then you're supposed to memorize that sulfate, which is SO4, has a negative 2 charge. So what I would like you guys to do is to put a set of parentheses around them. Think of the parentheses like a force field that you cannot go inside of. You may not go inside this parentheses at all. We're going to put the charge out here on the outside. This is sulfate. SO4 has a -2 charge. And then what we're going to do, same thing whether you like the algebra method or the swap drop method. The algebra method, you'd find a common number, which would be 6. If you like the swap drop, this number can't go inside that force field, so it's going to have to go outside that force field, and it's going to come right down here. And this 2, not the negative, but just the 2, is going to come down here. This is going to become Al2. Open up the parentheses, SO4. Close the parentheses, and then that 3 is going to go just right there. And this is called aluminum sulfate. This is the worksheet that you have. Unfortunately, I'm at school. I'm not sure where I saved that worksheet, but I have hard copies of it. I can't upload it right now, but I have hard copies of the worksheet. I'll look at home, and if I find it at home, I'll upload it from home. But you can come by and get a copy. This is number 1 on the worksheet, aluminum sulfate. Number 2 on the worksheet is copper 1 nitrate. That Roman numeral says that we want to use copper as a positive 1. That's what that Roman numeral is telling us. Nitrate is a poly. He is my favorite poly. I highly recommend you learn nitrate. Nitrate is a -1. Since they're both 1s, they actually cancel each other out. So it would just be CuNO3. The parentheses is not necessary, but if you would feel better, you can actually keep the parentheses on there. I'd rather you put the parentheses when it's not needed than, because there's really an understood 1 here, so the parentheses is not needed. This is copper 1 nitrate. Now copper 2. This time it's a +2. Nitrate is a -1. I'm going to put that force field, and we're going to take this 2. It's going to go down here. We're going to take that 1. It's going to go down there. And so it will be Cu, parentheses, NO3, close your parentheses, 2. That is copper 2 nitrate. So the first 3 on the worksheet. So if you come by and get the worksheet, if you start memorizing those polys, it'll make this a lot easier. Now on the back side is going the other direction. This one is on the worksheet. This is number 21. This is number 22. And this is number 23. Okay. This one, again, those polys are usually on the back side. They're not always. The only one that's going to be in the front is going to be ammonium, NH4. So if you see NH4, you're going to have to recognize he can be in the front. So this right here is a poly. It does not have a parentheses around it, and the reason it doesn't is because potassium is a 1 that went down here. If it makes you feel better, you can put parentheses around it. So we would just name this normal. That is just potassium. And then this is a poly that you have to memorize. It's dichromate. Dichromate has a -2 charge. That's why the potassium has a 2 on it. We've already swapped and dropped them. You're looking at basically looking at the answer there. This is potassium dichromate. This one, we look inside the parentheses there, well, that's zinc for sure. That 2 is a result of that zinc. So inside that parentheses is actually something called hypochlorite. And then this is aluminum. And this is acetate. One of the 2 ways you can memorize acetate. I need you to recognize both ways. You can write it however you want to write it. But C2H3O2 seems to be the one that most students do like. That 3 on the outside is a result of that aluminum, because acetate is a 1 and aluminum, so you're looking after the swap. So you just name the regular atom and then name your poly. If you have your worksheet and you're looking at this, number 29 gave some people some trouble, and it was because it was this, NH4OH. Now that's not a metal, so that's probably a polyatomic ion there. He's the only one that can actually ever be in front. So I'm going to put a set of parentheses there for you can see him. This is also not an element, that's another poly. I got 2 polys together. Ammonium can actually be with another poly. This is actually ammonium. He's a poly, he's a +1. This is hydroxide. This is known as ammonium hydroxide. So that one's a little tricky there. But once you memorize this, this becomes a lot easier. It just becomes just like the last quiz. But it's the memory part that's the hard part. So you do have a quiz over these polyatomic ions. You need to not only know the formula, but the name, and be able to take the name and write the formula, but you also need to be able to do the charge. Your quiz is almost identical to this worksheet. So you need to be able to not only know them, but know how to use them. So hopefully this helped. We did practice. I showed them a little tricks and stuff, but I'm not going to take the time because it's already after 5. So all I say is good luck. Study your polyatomics. If you do not have this worksheet, please come by and get this worksheet from me.